My brother locked his kids outside at 3 a.m. in freezing weather, and that night I realized I was their only safe place. Reddit stories. When my niece showed up carrying her half-conscious little brother, barefoot and ice-cold, the truth finally snapped into focus. Their parents weren't overwhelmed, they were dangerous, and I became the line between those kids and the night that almost killed them. Hey Reddit, I'm Mark, 34, and 2 months ago I woke up to someone pounding on my front door at 2 a.m., so hard I thought someone was dying. Turns out, someone almost was. It was my niece Emma, 8, and nephew Logan, 6. Barefoot. Shivering. Pajamas soaked from the frost on the grass. Crying like their world had collapsed. And the first words out of Emma's mouth were, "Uncle Mark." Dad locked us out again. That was the night everything in our family detonated. To understand how we got here, you need to know 2 things. I'm the responsible brother. Bought my house at 29, electrician, steady job, quiet life, neighbors who trim hedges on weekends. My brother Tyler is the gifted disaster child. 4 years older, somehow always sliding through life like consequences don't apply to him. Married to Christina, who was very excited to have kids until she realized they weren't decorative. They have 2 kids, sweet kids, the kind of kids who should have been born into a calm, loving home. Instead, they got them. The first time those kids showed up on my porch, I thought it was a fluke. Some horrible accident. Miscommunication. One of those parenting mistakes people look back on and say, "We really messed up that day." But that night? That first night? Emma explained between sobs that the front door just locked, and they couldn't get their parents to answer, even when Logan screamed for them. I wrapped them in blankets, sat them on my couch, got them warm. Then I called Tyler. He picked up with the tone of a man who'd been woken from a peaceful dream by a telemarketer. "What?" he groaned. "Your kids are at my house. You locked them out." Long pause. Then, "Just send them home. Just send them home. At 2 a.m. in 40-degree weather. Barefoot." I should have known right then the truth. But denial is seductive. We don't want to believe our own family is capable of harming their kids. So I drove them home. Tyler opened the door half asleep, half annoyed, and wholly uninterested in the fact that his children had just walked 3 blocks in the dark like tiny escapees. Didn't even look at them. Just mumbled, "All right," and closed the door in my face. That's when the first warning bells went off in my head. Not loud enough to act, but loud enough to echo. If only I had known, that was the gentlest version of what was coming. 2 weeks after that first night, I was finally starting to convince myself it was a one-time screw-up. Then, 1:45 a.m. Another frantic pounding. Harder this time. Faster. The kind of knocking kids do when they're trying not to die of fear. I opened the door before they could knock again. There they were. Emma and Logan. Same pajamas. Same bare feet. Only this time? They were shaking violently. Emma didn't even wait for me to ask. "They locked our door," she whispered. "We couldn't get out. Logan had to go, and then they wouldn't come." Her voice cracked. Logan hid behind her, ashamed, eyes swollen from crying. My stomach dropped. They'd been locked inside their own bedroom this time. And when Logan, 6, tiny, still learning how to sleep through the night, couldn't hold it anymore. He'd had an accident. He'd cried for help. Emma had knocked and yelled. Nobody came. And when they got desperate enough to keep banging, their parents turned the TV volume up. Emma eventually managed to pop the flimsy window screen with a metal hanger and lower Logan out first, from a second-story window. Let me repeat. A 6-year-old and an 8-year-old climbed out of a second-story window at nearly 2 a.m., so they wouldn't be trapped in a locked room with the smell of urine. Barefoot. In 30-degree weather. In the dark. And walked 3 blocks to my house again. I wrapped them in blankets. Cranked the heat. Took pictures this time, because something in my gut told me I'd need proof. Then I called Tyler. He picked up sounding annoyed again, not panicked, not alarmed. Just inconvenienced. "What is it now?" he muttered. "You locked your kids in their room," I said, keeping my voice low so the kids wouldn't hear my rage shaking. "They climbed out a second-story window to escape. They're exaggerating. They risked breaking their necks. They should have just stayed in bed. They're 6 and 8. They need discipline." I felt something inside me snap like a breaker tripping. "Tyler, they are children. Not inmates. Don't tell me how to parent," he snapped. "Just bring them home." "Not. Oh my God, are they hurt? Are they cold? Is Logan okay after the accident? Just bring them home." Like they were Amazon packages delivered to the wrong doorstep. I hung up and took them back anyway, because what else could I do at 2 a.m., while they were exhausted and half frozen? Christina opened the door this time. She didn't thank me. She didn't look relieved. She didn't ask if they were okay. She rolled her eyes. "You again?" I handed the kids over without a word. And as the door shut in my face, the warning bells got louder, no longer echoes. They were full-on alarms. And for the first time, I knew this wasn't an accident. It was a pattern. A dangerous one. 3 weeks later, the situation went from bad to holy hell. This is abuse. It was a Wednesday night. 11:30 p.m. Not 2 a.m., this time, earlier, but colder, late October, the kind of night where the air bites. I heard a knock. Not pounding. Not frantic. Just a single timid knock. Then another. I opened the door, and my heart nearly stopped. Emma was standing alone. No shoes. No jacket. Thin pajama pants. Bare arms wrapped around herself, shivering so hard her teeth clacked. But the worst part. Logan wasn't with her. "Where's your brother?" I asked immediately. Her lips trembled. "Still inside," she whispered. "Dad only locked me out this time." That sentence punched the air out of my lungs. Locked her out. By herself. At night. In the cold. "What happened?" I asked gently. She looked down, her eyes brimming. I asked for water. Just that. A simple human need," she'd said. "Daddy, I'm thirsty." And Tyler, my own brother, responded by grabbing her by the arm, dragging her to the front door, shoving her outside, and locking it. In 38-degree weather. At 11:30 p.m. And Logan? Logan had cried and screamed from inside the house that he wanted Emma back, but Tyler yelled at him to shut up and go to bed. That's when I stopped being shocked by their behavior. I started being furious. Not just angry, righteous, protective, adrenaline-flooded furious. This wasn't misjudgment. This wasn't ignorance. This wasn't strict parenting. This was cruelty. Calculated. Deliberate. And Emma knew it. When I wrapped her in a blanket, she didn't cry like the other nights. She just whispered, "I knew you'd open the door." Those 6 words nearly broke me. I took more photos. Recorded her statement. Wrote down every detail in the notebook I'd started keeping. Then I called Tyler. He picked up instantly, like he'd been waiting for me. "What now?" he said with a groan. "Your daughter is at my house," I said, shaking with anger. "You shoved her outside because she asked for water. She needs to learn not to interrupt adults," he said calmly. Too calmly. "If she cries enough, she'll figure it out. She's 8. So? Kids need consequences. Tyler, these aren't consequences. This is endangerment," he snorted. "You don't have kids. You don't get it." That's when I finally snapped. "This ends tonight. You don't tell me how to raise my kids." I drove Emma home, but this time, I didn't quietly drop her at the door. I barged past him into the living room. Logan was on the couch, tear-stained and trembling. And I said the words I never thought I'd have to say to my own brother. "If you ever lock these kids out again, I swear to God I'll make sure you never get the chance a fourth time. He laughed. Laughed. You won't do anything, he said. Family doesn't snitch on family. I walked out. And that night, sitting at my kitchen table, staring at the evidence I'd gathered, I made a decision. If it happened one more time, I was calling CPS. And I would burn my relationship with my brother to the ground if I had to. I didn't know then that one more time was coming much sooner. And it would be the night everything exploded. It happened on the coldest night of the year. I'll never forget it. Temperature, 28 degrees Fahrenheit. Freezing. The kind of cold that makes your breath feel like sandpaper. It was 3:15 a.m. when I woke up, not to knocking this time, but to frantic, desperate, continuous pounding. Hard enough to rattle the glass in the door. I bolted upright, heart slamming in my chest. When I opened the door, my blood went cold. Emma stood there, crying, shaking, but still on her feet. Logan? Logan was half collapsing in her arms. 6 years old. Barefoot on frozen pavement. Pajamas soaked at the ankles. Skin ice cold. Lips blue. Head lolling like he couldn't stay awake. I didn't even think. I scooped him up. He weighed almost nothing, rushed them both inside, wrapped them in blankets, cranked the heat, and grabbed my phone. Emma, I said, kneeling in front of her. What happened? And she broke. It poured out in sobs. Dad locked us outside and told us not to come back until we learned to follow rules. We banged on the door, and we yelled, but nobody came, and Logan kept falling down, and I didn't know what to do. They'd been outside over an hour. In below freezing temperatures. Both wearing thin pajamas. Both barefoot. Logan could barely respond when I spoke to him. His eyes kept fluttering shut. His breathing was shallow. That's when I realized. He wasn't just cold. He had hypothermia. I called 911. I didn't hesitate. Not this time. Not ever again. When the paramedics arrived, their faces went tight the moment they saw the kids. One of them said quietly to the other, "We need to transport. Core temp is too low." Logan was laid on a stretcher. Emma stood beside him, clinging to his hand, crying silently. At the hospital, medical staff asked standard intake questions. How long were they outside? Were they dressed for the weather? Are the parents aware? Emma answered truthfully. They locked us out. Daddy told us to stay out. We tried to get back in, but they turned the TV louder. The nurse paused mid-writing. Then exchanged a look with the doctor. Mandatory reporters. Every single one. Within minutes, the doctor stepped out to call CPS. And I called Tyler. He answered on the second ring, voice thick with sleep and irritation. What do you want now? Your son is in the hospital, I said slowly, every word trembling with fury. With hypothermia. Silence. Then, you called an ambulance? Are you serious? Tyler, he almost passed out on my porch. They're fine. Kids are fine. Why are you always making everything sound dramatic? Emma said you locked them outside. They probably went out on their own. Stop meddling. I stared at the hospital wall, speechless. His child was in a hospital bed, hooked to monitors, fighting to stay warm enough to stay conscious. And he was angry at me. Not himself. Not Christina. Me. That was the moment, right then, that I stopped seeing Tyler as my brother. And started seeing him as the danger he was. Because some people fail at parenting. And some people become the reason CPS exists. Tyler showed up at the hospital 40 minutes later, wearing jeans, no coat, and the expression of a man who'd been dragged out of bed for an inconvenience, not a crisis. He didn't run. He didn't look panicked. He didn't even ask where Logan was. He walked into the hallway, spotted me, and said, "You had no right to call an ambulance." Not, "How is he? Is he okay? Where's my son?" No. His first concern was that I'd involved professionals. You locked them out, I said flatly. He has hypothermia, Tyler. They're exaggerating, he snapped. Kids lie. Kids cause drama. You're feeding into it. I stepped forward, lowering my voice so I wouldn't shout in a hospital full of sleeping families. Your son could have died tonight, he scoffed. They weren't out that long. You didn't even notice they were gone. He didn't respond, not because he felt ashamed, but because he didn't care. That was when the CPS caseworker arrived. Patricia. Early 50s. Gray blazer. Expression like steel wrapped in professional courtesy. She'd been assigned because of the hospital's mandatory report. She introduced herself, showed her badge, and wasted no time. I understand the children were locked outside. Can you explain what happened tonight, Mr. Wilson? Tyler straightened, suddenly in full defensive mode. They're just trying to make me look bad, he said. The kids sneak out. They're manipulative. They get ideas in their heads. It was like watching someone try to dig themselves out of a hole by digging faster. Patricia didn't blink. We interviewed both children separately. Their statements match. They were locked outside for over an hour without proper clothing in freezing temperatures. They're lying, he insisted. They always lie. Patricia turned to me. Do you have any documentation? I handed her my notebook. My phone. The photos. The timestamps. The videos. Everything I'd collected over 2 miserable months. She flipped through the pages with growing gravity. Mr. Wilson, she said, turning back to Tyler. This is extremely serious. This constitutes repeated neglect and endangerment. It's discipline, he exploded. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't look startled. She simply said, locking children outside in below freezing temperatures is not discipline. It is abuse. The word froze the air. Tyler went still. Really still. Like hearing it out loud flipped a switch in his brain. Then, like a predictable storm, he snapped. You can't take my kids, he shouted. You can't do this. He pointed at me. He's manipulating you. He's jealous. He wants to make me look like a bad father. Patricia closed my notebook carefully. Professional. Calm. Sir, your son is being treated for hypothermia. This is not opinion. This is evidence. He stepped toward her. I stepped between them. He backed off, but only because he realized he just made things worse. That night, CPS officially opened an investigation. Emma and Logan weren't allowed to return home until an emergency home inspection could be conducted. And since they had no immediate safe placement, Patricia turned to me. Would you be willing to take the children temporarily? Emma's hand slipped into mine. Small. Cold. Trusting. I didn't hesitate. Yes. Tyler? He lost it. You're not taking my kids! This is kidnapping. I'll get a lawyer. Sir, Patricia said firmly. Your children are being placed somewhere safe. That is our priority. And as 2 nurses escorted him out of the hallway to prevent a scene, I looked at Emma and Logan. And they looked at me like I was the first adult in their lives who had ever chosen them over convenience. That was the moment everything changed. For them. For me. For my brother. And it was far from over. The first night they stayed with me was the quietest my house had ever been, and somehow the heaviest. Emma didn't take off her shoes until I reassured her 3 separate times. No one is going to lock you out here. Logan fell asleep sitting upright on the couch, still wrapped in the hospital blanket, like he didn't trust beds anymore. And suddenly my quiet 2-bedroom house didn't feel like a bachelor pad. It felt like a responsibility. A promise. I took the next morning off work and drove straight to Target, filling a cart like I'd just been told kids were coming to live with me permanently. Clothes. Socks. Shoes. Winter coats. Books. Stuffed animals. School supplies. Body wash that didn't smell like industrial pine. Night lights. I turned my home office into Emma's room, guest room into Logan's. Put small lamps on their nightstands. Tucked stuffed animals on the pillows. When they got home from school, they stopped in the doorway like they weren't sure if the rooms were real. "This is ours?" Emma whispered. "For as long as you need," I said. Logan immediately jumped face first into his new blanket like he never had one he got to choose. Over the next few weeks, our house found a rhythm. 6:15 a.m. Wake up, breakfast. 7:20 a.m. Drive to school. 3 p.m. Pick up. Homework at the kitchen table. Dinner by 6. Showers by 7. Stories at 8. It wasn't perfect. I was exhausted half the time. Parenting when you didn't expect to parent is like being thrown into the deep end with a backpack of bricks. But the kids, they changed. Emma stopped flinching at sudden noises. She started humming to herself while brushing her hair. Logan stopped stuffing extra food in his backpack. Just in case. He slept through the night without waking up crying. Their teachers called me. "We don't know what happened, but they're thriving." Meanwhile, Tyler and Christina were failing everything CPS required. Parenting classes? Tyler missed 2 in the first week. Christina refused to participate in group exercises because she said the instructor had an attitude. Counseling sessions? Tyler showed up late and spent the entire time complaining that the system was biased. Home inspections? They got written up for. Locks on the outside of the kids' bedroom doors. Alcohol bottles on every visible surface. 0 food except takeout containers. Piles of dishes and garbage. The CPS reports were brutal. Then came the first supervised visit. CPS required that the visit happen in my home because it was considered the safest environment. The kids sat on one couch. Tyler and Christina on the other. And not once, did either parent ask, "How are you? Are you eating okay? Do you like school? Do you miss home?" Instead, Tyler spent the entire time ranting about CPS. Overreach. Christina scrolled on her phone. The kids barely spoke. Emma sat silently with her arms tucked around herself. Logan played with a toy car without looking up. When the visit ended, Tyler had the nerve to say, "See you soon, kids. Daddy'll have you home again once we deal with your uncle's lies." Logan leaned into my side and whispered, "I don't want to go back." That was the moment, the exact second, I knew temporary custody wasn't enough. These kids didn't need a shelter. They needed permanence. Safety that didn't expire. A home that wasn't conditional. So that night, after they fell asleep, I emailed a lawyer. What would it take to petition for full, permanent custody? Her reply came within an hour. "With your documentation and CPS's findings, you have a very strong case." And that's when I made the decision that would shatter the family forever. 3 weeks later, Tyler was served. The moment he opened that envelope, petition for permanent custody, my phone lit up so fast I thought it might catch fire. I didn't answer. Didn't have to. Because he showed up at my house 20 minutes later, pounding on my door with the same rage he once used on his kids. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me so Emma and Logan wouldn't hear. He was shaking with fury, face red, eyes wild. "You're stealing my kids!" "They're not items, Tyler. They're human beings you endangered. You think you're some kind of hero?" he shouted. "You think you know better than their father?" "I don't need to know better," I said. "I just had to know enough." He jabbed a finger in my chest. "This is your fault. You called CPS. You blew everything out of proportion. You turned my kids against me." "No," I said, calm in a way that made his anger burn hotter. "Your actions did that." He tried again. "They're my kids. And yet," I said quietly, "they begged me not to send them back." That shut him up. Just for a moment. Then he lunged. Not at me, at the door behind me, the one leading to where the kids were. I blocked him instinctively. He shouted, spit flying, "I will take them back. You can't keep them from me. I pulled out my phone and hit record. His face changed instantly, panic flickering through all that rage. You're violating the custody order, I said clearly for the camera. You're threatening me on my property. Leave before I call the police. He didn't leave. He punched my mailbox instead, left a dent the size of his fist, then stormed off screaming about lawyers and revenge. I filed a police report that night, attached the video, the dented mailbox photos, the timestamps. My evidence pile was towering now. And the court date finally arrived. Family court, 9 a.m. A room that smelled like old carpet and fear. CPS presented their findings. Photos. Reports. Logs of missed classes. Notes from the children's teachers. Medical documentation of Logan's hypothermia. My months of notes. Videos of the children's statements. My attorney methodically laid everything out like a story too horrible to deny. Tyler's attorney tried the usual spin. They're overwhelmed parents. They've learned from their mistakes. This is a family matter, not a legal issue. The judge raised one eyebrow. Mistakes, she repeated. Plural? The more Tyler talked, the worse it got. He minimized. He blamed. He deflected. He called CPS biased. He called me jealous. Christina sat there with her arms crossed, staring at the wall like she was bored. Then the judge asked, I want to speak with the children privately. They went into her chambers with a child advocate. We waited. 5 minutes. 10. 15. Finally, the judge returned, face hard as granite. She shuffled the papers, took a breath, and said, Based on the overwhelming evidence of repeated neglect, the credible testimony of the minors, and the parents' failure to demonstrate meaningful change. The courtroom went silent. Even the air seemed to hold still. I am granting full, permanent custody to the uncle. Tyler made a strangled sound, half roar, half disbelief. The judge continued. Parental rights for Tyler Wilson and Christina Wilson are hereby terminated. Tyler shot to his feet. This is illegal. You can't do this. Those are my kids. 2 bailiffs moved in immediately as he thrashed and screamed. Christina didn't say a word. Not one tear. Not one protest. Not one question about her children. Just nothing. And as Tyler was dragged out of the courtroom shouting my name like a curse, I sat there. Exhausted. Relieved. Shaking. Because I hadn't just won custody. I had saved 2 kids' lives. When we got home that night, Emma asked me quietly, Does this mean we don't have to go back? Ever? I knelt to her level. You never have to go anywhere you don't feel safe, I said. Not ever again. Logan tugged my sleeve. Can I paint my room green now? I laughed. Buddy, you can paint it any color you want. He grinned. A real grin. The kind you only see on a kid who finally feels safe. For the first time in months, the house felt light. Not quiet. Not tense. Not like it was holding its breath waiting for the next emergency. Light. Emma decorated her room with fairy lights and watercolor drawings she started painting after school. Logan chose the brightest, most chaotic shade of green imaginable for his walls. Green like a superhero, he said. Their laughter started showing up in my hallways. Their backpacks dropped by the door every afternoon. Their art on the fridge. Their shoes piled messily by the mat. It all felt right. But the truth is, winning custody wasn't the end. It was the beginning of the real work. The trauma didn't just disappear because a judge signed papers. The nightmares were the first thing to surface. Emma would wake up at 2 or 3 a.m., standing silently in the hallway. Not crying. Just standing. Are you okay, kiddo? I just wanted to make sure the door wasn't locked. It wasn't. It never would be. So I started leaving my own bedroom door open. A lamp on in the hallway. Soft music playing from the speaker outside the kids' rooms until morning. Within a month, the nighttime visits faded. Logan, on the other hand, struggled with something different. He apologized constantly. Sorry for taking too long in the bathroom. Sorry for asking a question. Sorry for needing a snack. Sorry for spilling. Sorry for existing. The first time he said that, sorry for being here, I had to step away for a moment so he wouldn't see how much it gutted me. But I made it my mission to replace every apology with reassurance. Hey, you don't apologize for being hungry. You're allowed to ask questions. Messes get cleaned. It's not a crime. Existing is not something people say sorry for in this house. And slowly, he stopped apologizing. Stopped flinching at sudden noises. Stopped bracing himself before speaking. He began acting like a 6-year-old instead of a scared animal waiting to be punished. School noticed the change too. Emma went from quiet and withdrawn to raising her hand in class. She joined the art club, got her first A+ on a reading assignment, and nearly burst with pride. Logan's teacher emailed me. I don't know what happened at home, but he smiles now. All the time. It's wonderful. I didn't correct her. I didn't say. It wasn't home, it was leaving home that changed him. Some things don't need to be said out loud. As for Tyler? CPS required that I notify them immediately if he attempted contact. And he did. Of course he did. 3 weeks after the ruling, he emailed me at 3 a.m. A long, rambling wall of text about how I tricked the court, turned his kids against him, destroyed his life. I forwarded it to CPS. Blocked him. 2 days later he tried again, from a new email. Then a burner number. Each time, forward block document. The court eventually issued a restraining order. He hasn't attempted contact since. Christina never tried at all. Not one call. Not one letter. Not one request for visitation. Nothing. And the kids? They haven't asked about her once. That tells you everything. Life didn't magically become perfect. I'm tired, a kind of tired I didn't know before. Electrician by day, full-time guardian by night. Homework, dishes, laundry, school forms, field trips. But for the first time in years, the house isn't just a place I live. It's a home. Our home. And every night, when I'm cleaning up the kitchen and I hear Emma practicing her reading or Logan making superhero noises from his room, I think back to the night they banged on my door at 2 a.m. Then the next night. And the next. And the worst night of all. And I'm grateful they knew where to go. Grateful they trusted me. Grateful I opened the door every single time. Because if I hadn't, I might not have those 2 kids asleep upstairs tonight. And they might not have the chance to grow up at all. The funny thing about becoming a parent overnight, you don't realize it's happened until a small moment punches you right in the chest. For me, that moment came on a random Thursday. I was wiring a breaker panel in a commercial job site, thinking about absolutely nothing except not getting electrocuted, when my phone buzzed. A text from the school. Logan had a small incident. He's okay, but we need you to come. No explanation. No details. My stomach dropped so fast it felt like I stepped off a cliff. 5 months ago, I would have shrugged off any call from family. Now, I nearly broke land speed records getting off that job site. When I got to the school, Logan was sitting outside the nurse's office with a popsicle and the saddest expression known to humanity. Hey, buddy, I said, kneeling down. What happened? He stared at the floor. I spilled my milk on the table at lunch. That's it, I said gently. He nodded, shoulders shaking a little. And I thought the teacher was gonna lock me out. My heart cracked clean in half. The school nurse pulled me aside. He had a panic attack, she said quietly. He hid under the lunch table. It took a while to calm him down. I looked at my nephew, my kid now, whether the world had caught up to it or not, and I realized something huge. He wasn't afraid of consequences. He was afraid of punishment. The kind no child should ever have to imagine. I took the rest of the day off. We went to a diner, ordered pancakes bigger than his head, and spilled syrup everywhere. He froze, eyes wide, waiting for my reaction. So I grinned at him. "Well," I said, "now the table's sticky. But you know what? Pancakes taste better that way." For the first time that day, maybe the first time in his life, Logan laughed about a mess instead of apologizing for it. Meanwhile, Emma was having her own breakthrough. Her teacher emailed me after school. She asked if she could present her artwork in front of the class today. She was nervous, but she did it. When I asked Emma about it, she shrugged like it was no big deal, but her smile told the truth. "I drew our house," she said. "The new one. With the blue door." She paused. "And I put 3 people in it. Me, Logan, and you." I didn't know what to say, so I said the only thing that came out. "That's exactly who lives there." But of course, the peace couldn't last forever. 2 weeks later, I got a call from my lawyer. "Tyler hired an attorney," she said. "He's trying to file a motion to appeal the termination of his parental rights." I laughed bitterly. "He can't." "I know," she said, "but he's trying anyway. And there's something else." I waited. "He's claiming you coached the children to lie." My jaw tightened. "And he says he has evidence." He didn't. He absolutely did not. But Tyler was desperate. And desperate people don't need evidence, they just need chaos. "What does this mean?" I asked. "Probably nothing," she said. "But he's trying to force a hearing." A hearing meant stress. A hearing meant revisiting trauma. A hearing meant dragging Emma and Logan back into memories they were just beginning to escape. I took a long breath. "Can he actually get one?" "It's unlikely," she said. "But he can try. And that might cause complications." Complications. Legal ones. Emotional ones. Safety ones. Because Tyler didn't want custody. He wanted control. And even though the state had taken his rights, it didn't mean he was done causing trouble. Not by a long shot. Tyler wasn't interested in getting his kids back. He was interested in punishing me for taking them. That much became violently clear the moment my lawyer emailed me a PDF full of Tyler's accusations, pages and pages of absolute fiction. According to him, I brainwashed the kids. I staged photos. I manipulated CPS. I kidnapped them under the guise of helping. I was jealous of his successful family life. And my favorite accusation of all, I wanted to replace him as their father. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so disturbing. My lawyer handled it professionally. He has no standing. His parental rights were terminated. He cannot appeal unless he proves procedural misconduct or fraud, and he has no evidence of either. "He won't stop," I said. "Probably not," she admitted. "But legally, he has almost no oxygen left." Legally, sure. Emotionally? Psychologically? Tyler had plenty of oxygen left. And he was determined to set something on fire with it. 2 days later, the first real sign of trouble appeared. I came home from work, the kids in the back seat still talking about the school book fair, and saw something stuck in my front door frame. A piece of paper. Folded. Crumpled. Taped badly, like someone did it in a hurry. I grabbed it, unfolded it, and felt my stomach twist. It wasn't a letter. It was a printout of one of my own text messages, something mundane I'd sent my mom months ago about picking up the kids' school supplies. Except someone had circled the words, "the kids," in red marker and written underneath, "They're not yours." I froze. My skin went cold. The world went still. Tyler had been at my house. While the kids were gone. While I wasn't home. While my security system was disarmed. He'd walked right up to my front door. Emma noticed the paper in my hand. "What's that?" I crumpled it quickly. "Just trash someone left. Go inside, sweetie." But she watched my face too closely not to know something was wrong. Logan tugged my sleeve. "Are we safe?" That was all it took. I got them inside, locked the door, set the alarm system, checked every window in the house twice. Then I called the police. They took a report. Took photos. Noted Tyler's history. But at the end of the conversation, the officer gave me the same line they always do in these situations. He hasn't technically broken any laws yet. We can't arrest someone for leaving a note. Yeah. But some notes are notes. Some notes are warnings. That night I barely slept. Because Tyler wasn't stupid. He wasn't random. He wasn't chaotic. He was purposeful. And if he'd crossed the boundary from legal harassment into showing up at my home, he would cross another one eventually. And another. And another. Until he got what he wanted. Control. Fear. Chaos. Whatever was left of his pride. The next day, I acted. I installed new security cameras. Upgraded all the locks. Added motion lights. Gave the kids a simple safety script. If anyone ever knocks, you do not open the door. Not for anyone except me. Emma nodded stiffly. Logan asked the question I'd been dreading. Is Daddy trying to take us? I didn't lie. No, I said. He can't take you. He has no rights anymore. But he's angry, and angry people make bad choices. My job is to keep you safe. Do you promise? He whispered. I put a hand on his shoulder. I promise. But in my gut, a cold truth formed. Tyler wasn't done. And the next time he showed up, it wouldn't be with a note. Tyler didn't wait long to escalate. 3 nights after the note appeared, the motion light outside my house clicked on at 1:14 a.m. My phone buzzed, security cameras detecting movement. I opened the feed expecting maybe a raccoon. Instead, I saw him. Tyler. Standing at the end of my driveway. Hands in fists. Rocking back and forth on his heels like he was trying to work up the nerve to do something monumentally stupid. I slipped out of bed, checked the kids' rooms, both asleep, and crept downstairs, keeping the lights off as I watched him from the window. He walked closer. Step by step. Slow. Intentional. This wasn't a man coming to talk. This was a man looking for a confrontation. He reached the foot of my porch steps and stared straight at the camera, full eye contact, like he wanted me to know he wasn't afraid of being recorded anymore. Then he shouted, "You ruined my life!" Not at the door. Not toward the house. At the camera. Directly into the lens. "You think you're their father now?" he screamed. "You think you're better than me? You can't replace me. You can't replace me." He kicked over my trash bin. Paced in circles. Slapped the side of the house. Finally stormed back toward the street, yelling at no one. "This isn't over. I'm not done." The moment he crossed the property line, I called the police. They arrived within minutes, took one look at the footage, and the officer said the words I'd been waiting months to hear. "This is enough. We're filing for harassment, trespassing, and violation of a protective order. We'll pick him up tonight." And they did. He was arrested at 3:02 a.m. No more notes. No more surprise visits. No more threats. Just silence. The next morning, I sat Emma and Logan at the kitchen table and told them, "You're safe. Your dad won't be coming here anymore." Logan's shoulders relaxed like someone had lifted a backpack full of bricks off him. Emma didn't say anything at first. She just quietly reached for my hand. When she finally spoke, it was soft but certain. "Can we stay forever?" I squeezed her hand gently. "You are staying forever." And for the first time since the night they knocked on my door, both kids smiled without fear behind their eyes. Our life isn't perfect. There are appointments, therapy sessions, tough questions, hard nights. But there's warmth. Safety. Routine. Laughter. Bedtime stories. A house that feels like it finally has oxygen in it. Tyler chose anger. I chose them. And every night when I lock the door, turn off the lights, and hear 2 kids breathing peacefully in their rooms. I know I made the right choice. They're not just my responsibility. They're my family. My kids now. And no one will ever lock them out again.